everybody, and welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network. This morning, we finally got the news we were waiting for. Brian Baldinger hinted that the Eagles were going to get a lot better in mid-July, and then Lane Johnson tweeted out it was going to be a big week for the Eagles. But how? Who would it be? Who are they going to get? Would it be Yannick Ngakoue? Would they sign Jadeveon Clowney? Maybe a pipe dream in Jamal Adams? Maybe I was onto something with Leonard Fournette? Well, the news dropped, and believe it or not, wait for it, it was Jason Peters. I mean, it was Jason Peters. Of course it was Jason Peters. Why wouldn't it be Jason Peters? Of course it was Jason Peters! I'm not mad about it, but I'm not mad about it. I feel like it's one of those moods where, honestly, had Brian Baldinger not hyped this up to be the final season of Game of Thrones before it actually unfolding into the chaos that it was, then maybe, just maybe, this would be okay. We'd all just accept this as, alright, cool, and move on. But the fact it was hyped up sucks a little bit, because you were kind of expecting a big move. But let's dive into it. And first things first, alright, before we get into anything about the move and how it impacts the Eagles, I would like to bring back a quote from GM Howie Roseman in January, who said, "Me personally, one of my weaknesses is getting attached to our players." That went well. So Roseman, like me, has a slight issue when it comes to letting go of previous relationships, it seems. So Jason Peters is back for his 11th year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Does seem a bit weird considering, obviously, Roseman's statements at the start of the year and wanting to infuse youth and wanting to get younger, but you can understand where they're coming from to a point. Now, it didn't take long for the Eagles to silence any kind of controversy by saying that Jason Peters has been signed to come in and be the right guard in place of Brandon Brooks, who obviously tore his Achilles earlier in the offseason. So Jason Peters will come in and become the team's new starting right guard for this season. His contract is $6 million, which is actually $2.6 million cheaper than it was last season, so that's a plus. But we are overlooking how difficult this is, okay? I understand that from one perspective, you might have a slight doubt that Matt Pryor will be ready to go come week one, but the guy's played right guard a few months ago, okay? He's been in that position. Jason Peters, at age 38, has played left tackle for the last 10 years, and is not only moving to the right-hand side, where all of a sudden every body movement you do is mirrored, but he's now moving inside, where he's now going to be competing in training camp against Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Malik Jackson. I mean, there's being thrown to the deep end, and then there is that, okay? I understand the pedigree of Jason Peters. I do. He was an elite left tackle. He even played very well last year. The issues with Peters have always been the false starts and the durability issues, and both of those are going to be amplified when starting at the right guard position. The Eagles could have traded for Thuney. They could have gone out and got Warford. They could have signed a free agent, or just rode Pryor and had faith in Jeff Stoutland. I don't think bringing Peters back and moving into right guard was the smoothest option, but it gets him in the building, and of course there are positives here. Peters allowed just 3 sacks on 872 snaps last year. Now, the other aspect of this is something that Chris Infante, our writer at Philly Sports Network, picked up on in May, writing an article essentially gauging where Miles Sanders was running the ball. And as you know, I've been quite vocal in wanting to bring in someone to replace Jordan Howard, but believe it or not, Miles Sanders, when running up the middle last year, averaged 6.5 yards per carry, the first among running backs with 39 or more attempts. At right guard, that number was 4.92. At right tackle, it was 3.3. So you can see that right guard and in the middle, in that spot between Kelsey and Brooks, that's where Miles Sanders does like to plunge if he's going to go up the middle. Without him there, it's gonna get a bit tricky, because you're reliant on Jason Peters picking up the same kind of momentum, opening up that same size hole that Brandon Brooks, arguably the best right guard in the game, can. Now, yes, there was obviously going to be a drop-off with Matt Pryor there, for instance, but again, Matt Pryor had played right guard, and you look at left tackle, Miles Sanders gained just 2.83 yards per carry. That's a big drop, and I'm not saying that's going to directly correlate, but it's at least worth noting. Yeah, you can have the idea of, oh, Peters and Johnson and Kelsey all on screens, but Peters has got to get up there first, and that might be a bit of a problem when working against those heavier defensive tackles and not the lighter defensive ends you can throw around, especially on the opposite side of the field. And I don't want to compare this to Andre Dillard starting at right tackle, but when he said holding a pencil one way than having to write an exam all these years later and it be backwards, I think that's relevant. We do have to be aware of that. it is going to positively impact the Eagles, but there are cons you have to be aware of first. But on the flip side of the coin, depth at offensive line isn't great right now. The team did previously lose Peters before Howie sent him a "you up" text, along with Halapoulivaati Vaitai. So Andre Dillard, who is now inheriting that left tackle throne, was doing so without an insurance policy. There was no backup there able to come in with viable NFL experience. You had Jordan Mailata, Casey Tucker, and 2 rookies. It's not great. They needed something. So I think this move in one way, look, if Andre Dillard is struggling, or even worse, Dillard goes down, knowing you can pull Jason Peters back to left tackle, that's really good. That does happen. You just push Matt Pryor at right guard, and that's basically where you would have been at anyway. But this is a way to get Peters back in the building without directly impacting the confidence of Dillard. Dillard can hold down the left tackle spot, catch the baton pass from Jason Peters, and know that that's not a direct threat. He can blank out that noise. That's not competition. Sure, Peters may stay behind and help him after practice, as he did last year when Dillard was a rookie, but he's not there to compete for that spot. That spot's Dillard's. Jason Peters is in his own picture over there. For the main stage, Johnson and Kelsey have both got to know Jason Peters very, very well since entering the NFL, and this is only going to be great for their chemistry. We know they know each other inside out. Peters knows the playbook inside out. It's not going to be too much of an adjustment to learn. It's more the technicalities of getting it impacted when there are no OTAs and training camp is going to be so limited. He's going to really lean on those guys. But with Jeff Stoutland there as well, you've got Stoutland, Peters, Johnson and Kelsey. That quartet, I'm sure, will be able to get Peters up to speed overall because A, it's a Hall of Fame talent, B, knows them all so well, and C, it's just getting the old band back together, alright? You're going to have that reunion tour effect, and I feel like it's only going to bring a massive buzz of energy to a position that was probably a bit worried just how they were going to fare without Brandon Brooks. Like, I'm sure they will have a lot of faith in Matt Pryor, but there's bound to be some doubt, obviously, given his lack of overall experience and lack of prowess, whereas Peters, you know what you're getting. It inspires confidence, it inspires a bit of adrenaline. And then for the rookies, obviously you've got Jack Driscoll and Prince Tega Wannigo. Both of those guys drafted this year out of Auburn. Driscoll meant to be moving to guard, Prince Tega Wannigo the next project tackle. Peters can help those guys move along as well. I mean, overall, I understand the move. I'm not mad at it. But I do think they could have gone a different way. They didn't have to bring him back again. A couple of years ago where Peters was easily the worst player on the line, and it was Stefan Wisniewski who got benched when he was arguably the most consistent player on the line. He didn't understand why. He then left the team at following off season and went on to win a ring. Peters definitely has a heavy influence in that locker room, and if he does begin to struggle at right guard, I can't see him pulling him without there being a bit of a fight from someone they're now tied to financially for 1 year at least. But in terms of getting someone that knows the playbook, that knows the teammates, that knows the coaches, you know the player you're getting. He's a Philadelphia legend. He's a future Hall of Famer. If you can get him up to speed, if you can train him at right guard, we know he was holding out for a deal with the Eagles. If that's the case, fantastic, bring him in, let's get to work and see what Peters can do at right guard, because ultimately, he could be fine, he could be absolutely fine, this could be much ado about nothing, but my job as an analyst is to at least broach the concerns that many of us probably have, so I'm undecided. I mean, I'm in the middle right now. It could go one of two ways. I hope it goes the most positive, in which Peters can hit the ground running, really smoothly transition inside, and help the younger guys beneath him get up to speed, that when he does eventually hang up the cleats, he's got a beautiful line of succession underneath him of guys that have learned all the tricks of the trade and can step into his shoes once again. What do you think about the Jason Peters return? Let me know down in the comment section below. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll see you soon.